Great. All right. So if you could go to the next one, Missy. Today we're going to cover some brief updates from national. We have a few updates to share with you from California, including some great material on Get Out the Vote, since we've got less than a month left to go before the elections. We did wrap up our legislative agenda for 2024, so we have some updates to share with you on the outcome of that. And then a couple of things that are coming up in the next few months for public policy here in California. And then we should have some time, hopefully, at the end for people to share any good things that they might be working on, any Q&A and open discussion. So starting with updates from national, at this point, it's still continues to be pretty bleak. In terms of Title IX, there's 26 states and 2,000 individual school districts that are now under court injunction to not move forward to enforce the new Title IX rules that came out earlier this year. California is not under court injunction, but we still need to be cognizant of the fact that there may be some school districts here in our state that don't want to enforce the new rules. So if any of you diligent school board observers are out there and see things like this happening in your area, do let us know so that we can try and, address some of those enforcement problems that may be occurring out there. The administration is considering separating out some aspects of the new rules so that portions of the new rules can go ahead and get enforced while a lot of the LGBTQ plus related issues are being contested. There is a separate rule that's going to be coming out on athletics and sports participation. I think that initially people thought that it was going to come out by the end of the year, but at this point, it looks like the new rule is likely going to come out in spring of 2025. And AAUW National is currently in discussions about whether the AAUW public policy priorities need to more overtly address gender identity and sexual orientation. So I think there's going to be more information that will be forthcoming from National about that. And we've got a couple of links that you can go to here, and we're going to be sharing these slides with you, so you'll have access to all of this. There is a Title IX fact sheet from ACLU that's linked in here, as well as some information about the rule challenges that have been made. And then the ERA continues to be completely stuck in Congress. The discharge petition that they hoped would be able to move it out to a floor vote is stuck with no movement expected anytime in the near term. Did somebody have a question? If you're not speaking, if you could put your mics on mute, that'll be helpful.
So I did put a question in the chat. Is there some other place that we're supposed to put them?
No, I didn't see your chat, but why don't you go ahead?
Well, I just, I'd like to know what the rules are about so we can be on the lookout for them. Well, you said they're under injunction not to enforce the new rules. I don't know what the new rules are.
Oh, okay. We had some information that we had published out earlier in the year. I think it was in April that these new Title IX rules had come out, and it's about additional protections for LGBTQ plus students, pregnant students. They're not submitting people who've been harassed or assaulted on campus to a lot of egregious court testimony in person in front of their assaulter. Missy, maybe you can elaborate on that further, because I probably didn't say that as elegantly as I could have.
No, I mean, you got the big things. And so it basically, the Title IX rule change, the guidance that the Biden administration rolled out in April did kind of two major things. And one thing that it did was it extended, there's a legal decision in at the Supreme Court decided in a case called Bostock versus Clayton County, that basically took Title VII, which are workplace protections that are protected under the Civil Rights Act of 1964. And, you know, sex discrimination is protected under the Civil Rights Act, and that's in the workplace. And this Bostock decision took the definition of sex and extended it to mean sexual orientation and gender identity. And so what the Biden administration guidance did in April was take that decision that came down in 2020 about Title VII and workplace protections and applied it to the Higher Education Act, under which Title IX sits, which means that now when we say sex discrimination, we mean discrimination, which it's now an umbrella term, and it means sex discrimination means discrimination based on, right, sex as, right, when we're thinking of like men versus women, right? So that kind of sex, but also sexual orientation and gender identity. So Title IX now protects LGBTQ plus students under that kind of extension. The other thing that it did is it changed the idea of, as Amy said, it extended additional protections to pregnant and parenting students, but a lot of that came under this, again, expansion of the idea of sex. A big change was sex discrimination. You know, it rolled back some of the Trump administration policies around the process on at least on college campuses, but anywhere, any school that's funded by the federal government, about the process through which you actually kind of adjudicate sexual harassment claims. And part of doing that was calling it sex-based discrimination, which expands on kind of the kinds of practices that count as sex-based discrimination. So not only does it protect LGBTQ plus students, it expands the kinds of recurrent actions and interactions that might keep people from fully experiencing their educational opportunities. So I think that is the kind of the gist of the rule changes. I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, great, thanks. And I see there's also an ACLU fact sheet I can take a look at for more probably.
Yep, and we wrote a piece on it, as Amy said, I think in April, and it might have been April or May in Public Policy News, to explain that idea of sex-based discrimination as a major shift in that guidance.
Great, thank you.
No problem. Is it on to me anyway?
What's the next slide? Sorry, what? Oh yes, it's on to you, Missy.
I will take it up. Okay, so get out the vote. We are we at 24 days now, I believe? We're in the 20s. We are less than a month away. So we wanted to just remind you of the Get Out the Vote resources that are available and things that are upcoming. This Get Out the Vote webinar, It's My Vote, Home Stretch Activities and Voter Protection. It will be held on October 16th at 4 p.m. Pacific, and we have a registration link embedded in the slides for today, so you can register for that. If you want some additional kind of ideas and thinking about voter protection, you know, even though we're in California, right, voter protection is necessary in California, because when we think about protection and suppression, we might not have active, right, purging of the voting rolls, but we do have things like misinformation that are circulating, and intimidation tactics, which are problematic and which are part of voter suppression. And so I encourage you to attend that webinar if you want to learn more about like different kinds of activities that you can engage in that protect voters' rights. So that's an upcoming webinar. And then remind you of existing resources. And that is, we've done kind of a series on voter education. And so we encourage you to read it and share it out. So PP News is a big resource. We've been packing it full of voter education materials both for you and for you to share some or all of it. So August PP News started off our PPPs in the election. There we talked about how our public policy priorities, or PPPs, align with Title IX protections. And this also gives you more details about what I went on about. And like, apologies, I literally just taught like a class and then came upstairs. So I'm still in professor mode, so stop me, right? But in the September, right, PP News, we did another installment of that series where we talked about our public policy priorities as they relate to issues of reproductive rights and how they're kind of a factor in the current election cycle. The September PP News was pretty packed. We also had a piece in there on ballot propositions. And so what we did this year is we focused on 4 ballot propositions that were very much in line with our public policy priorities. We elaborated on those instead of giving you the full ballot proposition support, don't support, not applied. We kind of drilled down into 4 that we thought really aligned with our public policy priorities. And that's 2, 3, 4, and 32. And then we also put out head-to-head voter guides. And then in October, we did another installment about PPPs in the election on student debt. So if you're looking for any education, right, resources to share out, you can share those out. Amy, I didn't put this in here, but we also have an upcoming webinar. And sorry if I'm jumping the gun, on Project 2025, which will be held on October 22nd at 7 p.m.
Mhm.
Is that right? All right.
Yep.
So if you want more, right, and I guess more fodder, right, for talking about issues and issues as they relate to the public policy priorities of AAUW California and AAUW National, then we've got you covered. And so please do make use of those. Get out the vote, important information and dates. This is all linked in here. We have a pre-recorded Get Out the Vote webinar that we did earlier, that we did in September. And you can also access the webinar slides, which themselves are a resource. And then I'll talk about our social media campaign. And as part of the slides in the Get Out the Vote webinar, the last 2 slides, which I don't know if anybody looked at, so I wanted to actually insert them into this deck, have any link that you would need and that you would need to share with people about Get Out the Vote resources. So I'll show you these. I just imported them from the Get Out the Vote webinar. All right, so Get Out the Vote references and links by organization. So anything you need from AAUW California, I'll add October's, right, public policy news. From National, the Secretary of State links in California that you can use and share and send to people. A ResistBot, the General Services Administration, which is another kind of bypass link to register to vote in California, which you still have time to register to vote in California. And you can register on election day, and a QR code. This QR code, you can just take a screenshot or you can pick it up and carry it around. That QR code, if you scan it, takes you directly to the Secretary of State website. And so it's useful if you're going to do a kind of a voter registration or an informational session, and people are carrying around their phones, right? And make a big printout of that QR code, and that's a way to send people to places. There's another whole slide of links. And so links aren't, right, exciting, but they are useful. And so there's another whole, right, slide of links here that are organized by topic. If you don't have time to listen to the whole Get Out the Vote webinar, if, right, you don't want to go through the whole deck, all the good stuff is here embedded in the presentation for today. So hopefully you find that helpful, and hopefully you can share those out to anybody who's looking for information about Get Out the Vote or voter education. And the last thing I have to say about Get Out the Vote is to look in your inboxes for this social media campaign. So the first email should have gone out on the 9th, and just for fun and to make you try to find your golden hand on your lower bar. Can you raise your hand if you received the Get Out the Vote email on the 9th? And if you can't find the golden hand, you can raise your hand just so I can see. All right. Okay. Excellent. All right. So it looks like a lot of you did, but let us know if for any reason you didn't get them, because mine went to my spam folder. So if you didn't get them, you might want to look in your spam folder. But there should be an email coming out now every week that will have something that we're asking you to kind of send out and share, or you can follow AAUW California on Instagram, and you can reshare because they're posting the same thing. So the first email went out, and you'll get them on the 16th, the 23rd, the 30th, and the 5th. And this is just a kind of how-to. What are you supposed to do with these? You can either forward the email, or you can post the images to your own social media, use the body of the email as the caption for your social media posts, and then the hashtags at the bottom help to get the message, if you post it on social media, to trend, right? So it also sends, if you add hashtags, it sends the message out to different circles of people beyond your own, because then anybody who's using the same hashtag, right? Hashtag get out the vote, then that message will go right within those networks as well. So hashtags are important to add to any social media, because they basically force your content because of the algorithms into other networks, which is useful if you're posting about getting out the vote. So that's my update on Get Out the Vote, and happy to answer any questions about any of the materials or social media campaign. But for now, I will turn it back to Amy.
Thanks, Missy. So I wanted to give you a quick roundup of how our 2024 legislative agenda turned out. We had 41 bills on our 2024 leg agenda, not including 11 additional bills that we were watching. And of those 41 bills, 29 of them made it to the governor's desk, with the remaining 12 which died mostly due to cost issues. So of the 29 bills that made it to the governor's desk, 25 were signed and 4 were vetoed. So that's an 86% success rate, which we're really pleased with. And the great news is that of the 3 A priority bills, all 3 of them made it to the governor's desk, and all 3 of them were signed by the governor. So these are now all California law. And that is AB 2843, which removes any co-pay for medical care received by people who have been raped or sexually assaulted. And that was a bill that AAUW California authored, and it was an AAUW sponsored bill. So that's wonderful news. Also, AAUW sponsored was AB 2326, which is going to require the heads of the public universities to make a public report in front of the legislature every year on how they're doing with complying with Title IX. And then protection of reproductive health clinics, AB 2099. Which is going to clamp down on people who instigate violence against abortion clinics. That was also signed into law. So this was really, really fantastic news for our A priority bills. And then of our 4 B priority bills, 2 of them were signed into law. AB 1790, which strengthens the CSU system's protections against sexual harassment, and AB 1831, which prohibits material depicting minors performing sexual activities to include those materials that have been generated by AI or computer generated. And then very importantly, AB 1955, which was a C priority bill. And it was, I think, basically a C priority bill because it came into our ledge agenda later in the process after we initially chose our A and B priority bills. That's really the only reason why this was a C. It really probably would have been an A or a B if it came in sooner. But in any case, this is a bill that is going to prohibit California public schools from outing students who are going by a different name or a pronoun or identity to their parents without the student's consent. And California is the first state in the nation to ban forced outing of transgender students. So this is great, and it's wonderful to be part of a state which is right at the forefront of something really important like this. So if you are interested in seeing all the details about the ledge agenda and how all the bills came out, you can go to the bill tracking report, which is linked here, and it's also linked on the front page of the public policy website. Missy, do you want to talk about this one?
Sure. So I know that we're all focused on the election, but if we can see beyond it, what we are going to be doing this year is one of our important tasks, and that is, you know, looking at our public policy priorities. So obviously, our public policy priorities drive a lot of what we do in terms of a legislative agenda. It drives a lot of what we are able to say as a nonpartisan organization during election cycles. So every other year, we update our public policy priorities with input from membership. Because all of your voices matter in making sure that our public policy priorities are exactly where they need to be in terms of membership. So you should look for a survey link coming out in November that will ask you to do this assessment. If you are perfectly fine and happy with our public policy priorities as they exist, you can simply say, I like them, right? And that will be the entirety of you taking the survey. But if you want to give us feedback, if you want to see change, if you want to see something added, this is your chance to contribute to where they end up. So please, right, look for that survey coming out, and please, right, encourage everyone to provide their feedback, because this is a democratic process, and we want to make sure that we have as many voices heard in doing any revisions that we need to do to our public policy priorities.
Hey, finally, Lobby Days 2025. We are going to be getting together our Lobby Days subcommittee a little bit later this month to start fleshing out the details of how we're going to run this event next year. But the week that it's going to take place is the week of April 7th. And right now, we believe that we're going to be putting a lot more emphasis on in-person participation at Lobby Days at the Capitol. But there will also be an opportunity for people who can't or don't want to travel to the Capitol to participate over Zoom. So we're going to be coming out with more information a little bit later this year. So please be on the lookout for additional information in upcoming issues of the newsletter. All right, I think that's it for our materials that we wanted to cover. So at this point, why don't we open it up if anybody has questions, comments, any good things you're doing out there that you might want to share about? Yeah, hi, Cassie.
Hi. Yeah, I wanted to share that tonight we are having, my public policy committee, AAW Redlands, is having a candidate forum for the city council candidates for Redlands. And on the 23rd, we're having a candidate forum for the candidates for school board. So that's something that my committee does every election cycle. I wanted to, while we're talking about lobby days, and I don't know if I'm going to be included in that meeting in November, I'd like to be, but we were very disappointed that we could not get meetings with our legislators. Our lobbyists did not have any success in getting them to agree to meet with us. And so, so I was wondering if it would be possible for us on a branch level to reach out to our legislators. You know, I have a feeling that some of them just won't respond to somebody from outside of their district.
Yeah, Cassie, thank you. And I know that it's always such a challenge to try and get all of these meetings scheduled during this fixed period of time that we're trying to do the event. And I think you're right. In some cases, the office may be more receptive to hearing directly from their constituents, and it may end up being a meeting that you have at your local office instead of at the Capitol. So let me discuss that a little bit further with the committee on lobby days, but I definitely want to take your feedback and figure out a way that we can have you guys as the constituents reaching out directly to the office. So I'll follow up with you. So more to come on that.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah, hi Val.
Yeah, in Mendocino County, we had a candidate forum which included the second assembly district, which was vacated and that was very interesting and included the Ukiah City Council. We also had one in Willits and included the Willits City Council, the MCOE board, and the Willits School District. And we went to Covelo, which is a remote rural district, and it was the very first time they'd ever had a candidates forum. And we had the school board, Round Valley School Board, and the Round Valley Fire Protection District, which had an amazing 5 candidates vying for 3 seats. And we also did the Mendocino County Office of Education Board. So it was an interesting experience.
Wow, that's great. You guys are doing such good work out there. Val, do you find it is it complicated to try to get all of these forums together? And are you doing it just AAUW alone, or are you doing it like in partnership with somebody like League of Women Voters?
We are grouping with other groups. For example, the Ukiah and Willits and Covelo group, the Mendocino Women's Political Coalition co-sponsored with us. And they kind of took over for the League of Women Voters when they were unable to continue with their work. So, and then in Willits, we also had the Grange helping. So we're really trying to do outreach to different groups.
That's excellent. Thank you for sharing.
Amy, if I could come back on that, I just want
Yeah.
to say I failed to recognize the University of Redlands, who are our partners. We couldn't do it without them. They allow us to use a room on campus for free. It's well known to the community where it is. So also their professor of political science, public policy program chair is one of my co-moderators. So it is a lot of work. This time I tried to farm it out to 6 volunteers to help with the candidate contact, but I found that I still had to answer the same questions as if I, it didn't really save me much work. So I'm looking for, and maybe some of my fellow public policy chairs could suggest how to get some of your committee folks to step up and take more of a leadership role. I let my committee know last year that I was not going to continue. So far, nobody has come forward to take my place. So I'd like to hear what other folks do when they need to step down and let other people have a chance to lead.
Thanks, Cassie. It's a good point. Yeah, it'd be interesting to see if anybody has any ideas along those lines. Hi, AAUW Atascadero. I don't know what your name is. Hello.
Sorry. There, hi, I'm Christina Lefebvre-Latner, and I'm the president. I'm Karen Atascadero, and sorry, I didn't realize I was using my AAW Atascadero.
Nice to meet you.
Yeah, nice to meet you. I a couple things. So just to answer what we talked about stepping up. Our public policy chair and committee last year went to lobby days and had a really informative time. And from that, I think our public policy chair was a little bit overwhelmed with all of the work throughout the year. So we actually decided at that time to just create a committee and not have anyone really in charge, but divvy up kind of all the parts of it. So everyone is responsible for something. So we have someone on the school board project. We have someone who, works on getting the newsletters together, and then lobby days. So that has worked out really well for us, because I know it definitely is hard to have someone take on all of the responsibilities sometimes, especially if, working or whatnot. So just a thought that's worked out well for us. But I just wanted to say a couple of things. So we have also been really involved in candidate forums this year, and we started out with a school board forum because it doesn't seem like anyone ever covers a school board for the candidate forum. So we had been planning on that for a while, and I had done one last year. And then kind of at the last minute, it was found out that no one was going to be doing a city council forum because one of the people running was actually on the city council board. So they decided not to, or not the, sorry, city council, chamber board. Usually the chamber does it. So we got together quickly with the League of Women Voters and went ahead and put that on. So it's really helped us bring up raise our profile in the community, I think, doing the candidate forums, and also for people to see us as a nonpartisan organization, which has been helpful for us. So it's been a great thing. And then we've in the past done the Adopt-A polls too, and have had kind of a determined group of people who have been doing that. And it's a little bit of a fundraiser for us too. And last year it was really sad because in our county, they actually had to close polls because they didn't have enough poll workers for it, because they've kind of intensified some of the training for it, for good reason, and expanded the hours. But good news is that this year we actually had enough volunteers from our membership to staff 2 polls. So we're really excited about that. So we really made the public policy and voter education a real priority in our membership this last year. And then the last thing I would say was that one of the things that was mentioned was in bringing LGBTQ issues as a kind of more of a priority in the public policy. We had our first Pride event in Atascadero this last year, and we tabled at it, and we had 30 people sign up for more information around AAW, which was really terrific because there wasn't a ton of people there. So to have that many people looking for information. And one of the things that we handed out was a little bit outdated, but it was one of the fact sheets on the different ways that we support LGBTQ individuals. So one, I would say if someone could update that, that would be fabulous, because that was great to be able to have that available. But also, I think it really goes to show that this is kind of I don't want to say a hot topic because, but it's something in the public's eye. And it's, as we're looking to try and expand our membership and diversify our membership, there's definitely a group out there who's interested in it and keeping an eye on it. And so it's been really great for us. And we actually had 5 new members sign up just from that one event. So, so it's been really terrific. So that's it for me. Thank you.
Thank you so much for sharing. And you know what? It would be great. I don't know if you've seen the link where you can share branch events that you're doing, but this is such a good one that you just shared, that if you wouldn't mind filling out a form and letting us know more details about it, we would love to post that as an article on the website so that other branch people can, see that and be inspired to do something similar, because that's just excellent. Thank you so much.
Can I ask a quick follow-up? Did you get the fact sheet from national or from state?
You know what? I think it was from state, but I could be wrong. So I can't remember. It was back in June or July. So of course I don't remember exactly, but I will look at it and I can get back to you too. So what that
Yeah,
was.
let me know. And if we don't have one from state, then like I wrote it in our notes because that would be very easy to write. And we could produce something like that.
That'd be great. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Hi, Chris or Chrissy?
Actually, Chrissy. I know
Hi,
it's spelled
Chrissy.
weird. Hi, I am from Morgan Hill, and Susan Reif is actually our public policy chair, but she couldn't make it today. I'm the president of the Morgan Hill branch, and we also held candidate forums. We had 3 of them on Thursday nights, going for 3 weeks in September. The first one was for our mayoral candidates. We had 2 candidates. The second one was for our school board candidates, and the third one was for our city council candidates. And our city council provided we used their chamber, and they provided Zoom support for those meetings, and also posted the Zoom meetings to the city's website. And I know Susan did a ton of work. I think probably one of the hardest part was just wrangling all the candidates and, getting them to commit to it. And then we had 2 moderators at each one. Maybe 1 or 2 of them overlap, but we had a lot of member support who stepped up. We used our young women leaders, our high school program. Some of those girls came and did the greeting people and showing them where to go, and gathering questions for the candidates, and then just regular members, helping out, setting up tables for the candidates and stuff. But it was a big success, and we got good press in it in our local paper.
It's excellent. Thanks, Chrissy. Thanks for sharing. The next person up, it shows iPhone and I can't see.
Is it me?
Yes, that's you.
Okay.
Hi.
Hi, I'm Sandra Makala, and I'm co-president of Gilroy AAUW. And we had an election forum on September 28th for city council. It was totally packed with people going out the doors, and there was so much community participation that it was very successful. And then another thing we do is we look over the agendas for city council, and we noted a group called United Sovereign Americans, and they were presenting a resolution. They were trying to get our city council to vote for, and it was for valid and legal elections. So we looked up all that stuff, and it was a group that's a right-wing fringe group that has been told to cease and desist in New York, but they're traveling all over, and they're trying to get these resolutions on the in these small cities at a grassroots level, providing them the opportunity to access to the registrar roles of these cities. And they want to monitor elections. So what we did, about 15 of us from AAUW went, and when they had a time for public comments before they voted, 15 of us got up and spoke, and we told them about this group and provided data, and the Santa Clara registrar of voters came also and provided the same information. It made the headlines in the Mercury, San Jose Mercury.
Oh, wow.
So they voted against it. But
That's excellent. Great work.
Yeah, they would have voted for it. They were leaning toward voting for it because these people, when they present it, go, what's the harm? Everybody wants free and fair elections, but that's a dog whistle that we aren't getting free and fair elections.
Please
So,
remind me what branch you're from.
Gilroy.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Yeah. So those are the things that have been happening.
That's amazing. And I'm just going to second to everyone that when you're doing these things, please fill out a form for us so that we know and we can promote what you're doing and we can spread the word for other branches both to give you some claps for doing all of the hard work that you all are doing with candidate forums and on the ground activism and but also to give other branches ideas for things that they can do. So thank you for the work you're doing. Sorry to ask you to do more work by filling out a form, but we would appreciate it if you could.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Can I ask a question real quick about that form? Does that allow us to send a visual, for example, the flyer that we have for our candidate forum? Can we post that to, okay.
Yes. Yeah, Cassie, you've done these for us before. I think you had a candidate forum in the past at the University of Redlands and you shared that with us. And I think that you gave us some nice photos that we were able to put onto the website. So yeah.
That's right. Thank you for reminding me. We did 2 years ago.
And Susan, I know you had your hand up and I think you lost your place, but I'm going to come to you next because I know you've been waiting.
Oh, okay. Thank you. We referred our members to the League of Women Voters candidate forums via emails and our newsletter. But we did at our fall gathering, we had a presentation on all 10 California ballot propositions. This was organized by my co-chairs of public policy, Elaine, who's on the call, and Peg. And they did a beautiful job organizing it. So it was really 3 minutes each, what it's about, pros and cons, and who's supporting it, who's giving money, and who's against it. People really appreciated it. But then last night I went to my local Indivisible group and they used these 1-minute videos from this nonpartisan group, Cal Matters. And I've put that in the chat if you want to let your members know about a great nonpartisan view of the 10 ballot propositions, and it'll be prop 4 in a minute, and they're very professionally done by their very professional and somewhat academic, but plain speaking staff. So I think it's a great resource to share with your members right now. Thank you.
Great. Thanks, Susan. Hi, Claire.
Hi, I just wanted to say congratulations to all of us that are in Santa Clara County, big county, and Silicon Valley, UW Silicon Valley is sort of the north end, and Sandra and Chrissy and Susan, actually Susan is sort of more in the middle, but Sandra and Chrissy are down the very lower part. So that's great that we all say something. But I would just want to say that up at our end, there are so many, not only League of Women Voter candidate forums, but also partisan candidate forums that we tend to, our branch tends to co-sponsor with other nonpartisan groups rather than try to do something on our own. So tonight, actually, we're going to one that I think is very interesting because it's just for all the women candidates that are in the North. Well, actually, I think we're even doing Board of Supervisors people that are come together and talk about their positions on the various elections that are not only city councils, but school boards, and even I think the water district in healthcare, El Camino Healthcare District. So sort of covers everything for all the women candidates anyway. So there's our part too. Thanks.
Thank you, Claire, and I'll see you there tonight.
Yeah.
Hi, Nancy.
Hi, I am the Public Policy Chair of Marin County Branch and also on the State Public Policy Committee. And I'm in charge of, or the point person for the Northern California, along the coast and then inland, far north. It's called Far North. And I just wanted to say that we have 15 school boards in Marin and 11 city councils. So we have all these teeny little cities, and it's just almost impossible to have a school board forum or try to get 15 different people together from different school boards. So we decided this year to ask a political consultant to speak for us at our presentation this month on the different issues that affect women that are on the that will be on the ballot. And that was very interesting. And we also did 3 voter registration drives at our local college and another one at a local library. Two of the 4 voter registration events were done with the League of Women Voters. The other 2 we did on our own. And then for the rest of the year, we have our state representative, Damon Connolly, will be speaking. And we're trying to focus on DEI this year. So we're having an LGBTQ speaker and we're creating a separate DEI committee, which I will be on to try to see how we can diversify. I don't know about the other branches, but we are probably the worst example of diversity that you could get. So we're going to try to see what we can do about that. Thanks.
Thank you, Nancy. Hi, Myra. Myra, you're on mute.
I have a question. I wanted to know where Claire Noonan is from because I'm new to the Saratoga Los Gatos group, and I'm wondering where Claire is.
We're AEW Silicon Valley, which covers members in Palo Alto, Los Altos Hills, and Mountain View, all around Stanford University, if that gives you an idea.
Okay, thank you so much.
Sure, of course.
I will also just say, Nancy, that I don't know if you saw the resources that AEW California has produced for kind of around DEI, but there's some DEI resources that the state level has been producing, and national has a lot of really great tools too. So happy to follow up on that and or connect you with Lata to talk about some of the programming that you might want to do or where you might want to think about.
Great, thank you, Missy. I will be starting my in-depth research before our first meeting in November, so I'll definitely contact you.
Awesome. And I can put you in touch so that you don't have to reinvent the wheel, because some of those things are there for you already.
Right, great. Thank you very much. Aside from my daughter being gay, I don't really know much about diversity myself. So I guess somebody has to do it. So they asked me to step forward, and it is part of public policy. So
it very much is. But thank you for that work, and I'll try to connect you. And I wanted to mention something that we have in the works that I didn't put in the slides, and that is we are trying to put together a gender and public policy internship. So we're going to try to put one together and pilot it this year to have either an undergraduate or a graduate student. And we're starting with this university because, you know, I'm at Cal State Long Beach and it's easier for me to create agreements, but I'm pretty excited about working on developing that. I'm in the political science department as one of my departments. And so we're working with political science and gender studies here to have an intern come and work with the state public policy committee. And I have some students that are really interested. So this is a kind of we're excited about trying this out to get some other college students involved in the work that we're doing. So, Amy, I mean, we have 6 minutes. I don't know. This is unprecedented that we would end 6 minutes early. But I will open it up and ask if anyone else has any questions. I see Cassie first, and then I see Nancy. So Cassie and then Nancy.
Thank you. Yeah, I know this wasn't considered by the leaders a public policy thing, but you know, I'm sad that GovTrek is going away after a couple of years of that. I thought it was really taking off and doing well. So I don't know if either of you are knowledgeable about what happened there. It was just a matter of nobody stepped up to take over the work.
Yep.
That's exactly what it is. I mean, we loved the program. It's a wonderful program, but the person that was leading it needed to take a step back, and there wasn't somebody else that was able to take over. Cassie, if you're interested, or if you know of anybody who is.
Well, unfortunately, I'm not looking for more responsibilities right now, but you know, I wondered if it's possible, if somebody would consider, somebody at the state level would consider whether it would be a good program to allow the branches to run it locally. I mean, for example, you know, when I first heard the idea, I thought, oh, I know a ton of women in government here who could be our speakers, and, you know, we could get the local schools involved. We already have good relationship with our school districts here. And yeah, I don't know. I was told the first year that no, if you do it on a branch level, it won't count toward GovTrek, and you can't call it GovTrek. So I don't know if there's any flexibility there, or who I should talk to about that idea.
We could take it to the board. I mean, the board was very sad about GovTrek going away too. So I think any ideas that we have to try to keep it going is definitely worth a conversation, and we're happy to take that to the board.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
No problem. Nancy, I saw you next.
Yes, could you just remind us, or me at least, how exactly do we get to this form that you're talking about? I've done it, but I forgot where you fill out branch activities.
Yep. So I dropped it in the chat and I linked it on the slides that you'll have. So you'll have the direct link. So, but it is, if you go to the AAUW California website and you go to public policy, let me make sure I was navigating to branch tools to try to find something for you, but it's under public policy. And then there's an area that says branch events. So let me just share my screen because I think that'll be easier. My poor computer, ignore all of my tabs, right? But if you're on the public policy main page and you scroll down to branch events and you click right here on branch events, it says click here to submit, and that is where it's at.
Great, thank you.
No problem. I think I see OG.
Hi, everyone. Yeah, thanks. I just wanted to build on what Cassie was saying about GovTrek. I actually was looking at it, you know, when we all heard the news that there wasn't going to be GovTrek this cycle. I thought, well, okay, that's not necessarily a terrible thing. It's a pretty intense electoral cycle that we're in the middle of. And I actually interpreted it as a hiatus. I didn't think that it was going away. So there's that. So yeah. The other thought that I have apropos, well, how could we rethink it so that maybe it could be a little bit more viable? And I'm wondering if there's any learning that can be drawn from Tech Trek. Right. So it's statewide, but it's local.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's just a very high level thought, but it just seems that Tech Trek, I only hear wonderful things about Tech Trek. And so there might be some learnings that we can glean from that, and maybe we can adapt so that we could bring GovTrek back. But in my head, where it lives is, it's almost inevitable. It's such a wonderful program. I'm confident in my heart that it's going to come back. I don't know exactly how or when, but it will, because it's too good not to.
Right.
That's
Yeah,
exactly what I had in mind, was modeling it on Tech Trek or Speech Trek or any of those. Yeah, that are global but local.
So, I mean, this is making me think that, I mean, if we could just package it kind of as a course, you know what I mean? Like, think of it as a course that like the branches could facilitate more than like a statewide program that someone has to manage. Might be another way to think about it. But we will definitely like revisit this with the board to see what we can, come up with, because I agree with you. I was sad too. I was like, Amy and I looked at it and we're like, oh God, we can't do that too. But if we can, if we can find a way to make it work, we will find a way to make it work.
So
Cassie?
some of the feedback that we gave after the last one was, what we heard from our participants was it would be a lot easier if it wasn't in, beginning in January, right after everybody's coming back off of, the holiday break and very busy with all their other activities. And it would be really helpful if it was over the summer. So that's just something you might want to mention to the board, because, we did give that feedback to Shauna and Kathy, but if you could take that to the board as well. Thanks.
Yeah. We can do that. And, if it's packaged as a course, you could also have things pre-recorded, and part of it could be like asynchronous, so people could do it like on their own time and then have times to meet. And so we can rethink those options, but we will definitely take the summer like feedback to
And
the
like
board.
maybe like Start Smart or Work Smart.
Right.
That,
Yeah. OG?
Yeah, just one other thing is that I can't remember what the Google form was that said who's interested in participating in which statewide, whatever. But if those survey responses are still accessible for anybody who indicated an interest in GovTrack, I'm sure that there's at least a bunch of us who would be willing and able to participate in some extended brainstorming via Zoom off of whatever you all determine as a board you'd like to explore in terms of GovTracks. I mean, there's a lot of interest. So just as an additional resource to complement whatever the board discussion is.
Yep. I'm putting it in the notes, and we will follow up with all of you on that. Thank you so much. Thanks, OG. Thank you all. I know the interest is there. So if we can help make it happen, then we will do our best. But I think just rethinking it might be a good way to move forward. So thank you so much. Oh, Myra? You are on mute.
If you could stay on with me afterwards to, send me an email. If I don't get it, I'll check my spam. If you could tell me if it arrives in my spam, how I can change that.
Yeah, so Myra, that's going to be hard for us to do. The reason is that those emails that come out to you with things like the meeting reminders, they come from state. They're not coming from me and Missy. So they're coming from a different source. And so we are not able to just hit a button and send it to you right now. But if you take a look at the email that I sent you. If you do the search and if you find the emails or don't find them, let me know either way, and then we'll figure out next steps from there to try to troubleshoot what's going on.
Yeah, the problem is I get rid of my spam almost every other day now, so I don't know whether they'd be there or not, but I'll reach out to you if I have a problem. Okay.
Okay, sounds good.
All right, I'm gonna stop the recording.